Hello and welcome back everyone to the Rockies franchise. We are here in episode 6 and today we are going to be taking a look at the draft and going ahead and picking the future of our team. But first let's start off with the game against the White Sox here. Of course the White Sox in real life around this time were having the worst Major League Baseball season pretty much ever. And in real life the Rockies are kind of blowing that out of the water in 2025. So I guess if you have MLB The Show 25 you know that that's the case. That's kind of how things are going down. In game, however, not quite the same way. Us Rockies are a little better than they are in real life. White Sox, I don't think quite as bad as they were either. As we're watching Oscar Ynoa, and he throws a 97-mile-per-hour fastball here for the strike. Now count is even 2-2. This one popped up on the slider, and that'll be a fly out, as they do not test the arm there. And so today, we're going to watch some simulated baseball. We're going to do some player locking. Of course, here we're player locking with Oscar Ynoa. And we're going to watch some late inning drama. But most importantly, we are going to draft the future of our team. Now, I do want some feedback for future seasons. I think going forward, maybe even the draft we could stream potentially. I'm not entirely certain how I want to do it going forward because it's not like Madden where you do this draft during the offseason or even NBA 2K, I guess. Very strange the way I think baseball does it, as this slider draws a strike in the end of the first inning. Really nice first inning there for Oscar Ynoa. Not sure I'm saying his name quite right. Another really good slider, by the way. So I think going forward, I'm going to try to look at doing a strategy of discovering every single week just about. Having one dedicated scout to discovering, and then the position player is probably where I'm going to actually spend time focusing on an actual person, because I think it's really hard to imagine scouting a lot of generalized positions. There's just so many positions, unlike pitcher where you have starting, closing, and reliever, which arguably closing and reliever from what I understand aren't even that big of a difference. Really, pitcher in general should just be one category. It should kind of be positionless, and then you decide who's a starter caliber based on stamina, reliever based on other stats, and who's a good closer based on the stats that matter to that. But, you know, I think generally being able to scout only 3 position groups across the regions in mass is a lot better than trying to scout position players in mass. So we'll see how that goes next season. I do think with new scouts as well, it would go a little better. I don't think I really had the right scouting room in this first season. 97-mile-per-hour fastball almost takes off Paul DeJong's head there. And this one is a slider, and that's another strikeout on the slider. Really liking what I'm seeing here from Oscar Ynoa. Now this is going to be a base hit here into right field. Nolan Jones going to track it down. Actually going for second base there. The throw is in, and he's safe. So up 7-0. Rockies still dominating the White Sox here as Oscar can't grab this one. And that will be an out at first, but runner does get to third. So let me know how you think about the formatting of the draft. Do we want to do streams of it going forward? Do we want to look at prospects before we start the draft? As this one's going to be a sacrifice fly out home and a score for the White Sox. It's kind of like the offseason. This first offseason, I'll go ahead and say, is going to be recorded. But I do want to live stream the offseason 100% going forward. So we'll be doing that. I will not do another offseason recorded, at least for a while in the series. I think it just will be more fun that way. And I do want to do more live streaming of different games throughout the season. With how many games there are in a season, it's just something where there's no way I can record a lot of it. And I don't get to play enough of it because I'm doing so much simulating. I think streaming would be a good way to do that, as we can't grab the fly ball out in left field. Oscar's just going to stand here. No runs scored on that, but now runners in second and third position there. Double for Benintendi. And I'm definitely going to live stream the spring games. So they will be coming soon. Actually, by the time this comes out, and this should be coming out on a Wednesday, I believe, is when you should be seeing it. And the season finale will be on Friday. So this releases on Wednesday, which would be the 28th of May. On Saturday, I will be doing the live stream of the Rockies spring games. We're not going to do all of them. We'll probably jump around here and there. But I think that'll be really, really fun to see the new players. Nice recovery here, and that is an out. And we escaped the 5th inning, a 7-3 game, as we did pretty heavily lose our lead there. Still have a 4-run lead, but from 7-3 is not great. And this 4-seam fastball, only 95 miles per hour for someone who can definitely throw it a little faster, but getting up there in the pitch count now at 85, now 86. Still throwing 95 miles per hour. And then this pitch, working the outside, actually misses inside a little bit, but that will be a fly out there. And the Rockies look to maintain their lead. You know, probably pitching his last inning if I had to guess, as we approach 96 pitches on the day. This one's a little low, and he's definitely starting to lose a little bit of his targeting here. We're going to see what the changeup can do. Corner left pocket, circle changeup is hit, but that'll be an easy out there. Really nice throw there for Oscar Yanoa. And that does, in fact, end his game as Tyler Kinley comes in to relieve him. Kinley, who's had a really, really good season. And he is relieved. The Rockies win this one over the White Sox. Always nice to beat the worst team in the league. You never want to be the worst team in the league. Although, record-wise, we are currently the worst team in the league. But, still, win for Oscar Yanoa. And we have a trade offered after the game. And it's Chris Bryant for Buck Farmer. So yet another reliever offered. Now I am mostly wanting pitchers. I think the bullpen and our starters, I think our whole pitching staff is terrible. We accept this trade if only to get Chris Bryant's contract off our books. Bryant was someone who had been killing it down at the minor leagues. I thought about bringing him in, and then I realized there's really no point to it. I want to kind of tank for draft positioning. Not necessarily tank, but speaking of drafting, let's go ahead and get into this one. As we have some players I think that can make some pretty big differences. We'll start the draft here. Dave Peace, Jason Kobayashi, my top 2 targets, no particular order. Either one would be great for us. As Chet McFarland goes first, I had scouted him, but I'd actually backed off of him, as we had a draft rank of 60th on him for the team. 4th in the MLB, however. We'll see if that ends up being a good pick for him, as he goes to the Cleveland Guardians. 2nd overall pick. And it's Jason Kobayashi going to the Reds. Kobayashi was definitely... It was a toss-up. I kind of wanted him most over Dave Peace, but it really was a toss-up. Now, the choice was pretty obvious for me. First on our team board here, really high potential, and we already know the overall is going to be probably not far off from the majors. Maybe a little bit of time down at AAA first. There was also some other players, Richard Bloom, Antonio Salas, that I was really interested in. Richard Bloom probably the only one that really threatened Peace, but it wasn't, frankly, it wasn't close. Dave Peace is the first pick in our series here, and Peace will be interesting. We'll see his actual official ratings, but we know it's going to be somewhere between 87, 92 potential and 69, 74 overall. I'd say that's a pretty solid pick at number 3. Going forward in the draft, Richard Bloom immediately going to the A's, next pick. Now, we will have to keep an eye on him in the offseason because he would actually be traded from the A's. So he will be going to the Rangers later in his, I guess, in the season. As Alan Villa also goes, that was someone else I had interested in. Antonio Salas, 33rd pick here in the draft, and I really, really wanted him. This was a bummer. And so now at pick 37, it's kind of who do I want as the Pirates take Traxler. Bruno Jaquez, Wade Ames, my top 2 targets here. Jaquez is the one I would go ahead and take. Now, he did opt out of his doctor exam, but potential between 77 and 95, and overall of 54 to 72. This is one that I didn't scout fully, and maybe I wish I had. Wade Ames, really, really good player here at 41 in the 2nd round. Neville Fishman, a little bit more of a reach, or at least we don't know what we're getting with him. But with Ames, we know we're getting between 80 and 90 and 59 and 69. Again, opted out of his doctor exam. You'll notice our first 3 picks all opted out of their doctor exam. Something I didn't really take into consideration when I was doing drafting here. 3rd round, pick 80 here. And there's not a lot left that we actually have scouted. So it's kind of at this point looking at interest in the team to sign on, and then just projected overalls and potentials. Robbie Bush will take, and he's between a 61 and a 79 overall, 70 to 88 potential. So probably a decent player there. Not going to be too bad on the low end, at least in the 3rd round. That's not awful. Philip Chang, another player that opted out of his exam, and we don't have anything scouted on him too much. Has a high range of stats here though. We'll see what we get from him. It really was just a lot of stabbing here. I did not do a good job throughout the season of managing my scouts, so we're kind of just taking stabs in the dark. Mackenzie Jackson, one of the top players remaining, 130th, and we're picking here at 140, so that tells me he's still probably a decent value at this position. Of course, he also opted out of his doctor exam. So I'm really banking on the fact that all these guys just opted out of doctor exams. Maybe, you know, they're scared of the doctor. I don't know, scared of needles. But here at pick 170, this is the final pick in the draft for us. William Gordon, one of the top remaining players. It's kind of at this point just stabbing in the dark. 75 to 99 potential for Oliver Hernandez, but we know his overall is going to be very, very low. And we'll see if that was a good pick for us as we find out Bruno Hawkes has an injury that will affect his long-term potential and overall. That's not good. So peace between 87 and 92, and now we get to the part where we're actually also still scouting and we're trying to increase interest in signing with us. Now, some players we can also offer during this period, so this was something I was not expecting to run into. I think it's a really fun idea though. And of course, I'm used to Madden, where all your signing of rookies is done for you. You don't have to actually haggle with them. But Bruno Hawkes, that potential and that overall quite a bit lower than I originally thought it would be. And so we're going to pass on him for now. We're going to scout Dave Peace, Wade Ames, and Philip Chang. And actually, I wanted to try to go ahead and lock up Peace. I just didn't think this was one I wanted to screw around with too much. $8.4 million signing bonus, and Dave Peace signs with the Rockies. We have a potentially future outfielder for us, a cornerstone player potentially to go with Nolan Jones. Wade Ames, how about 211 signing bonus? And he signs on. And I gotta tell you, those ratings are not bad. If he's in the blue category of potential, he's even going to be not too far off from starting into the majors. Philip Chang, definitely someone who I think is a project for us, but you can see that potential is potentially really high. Hawkes, I still want to scout him because I need to know if that's on the lower end of potential. And then we get offered a trade here. Justin Lawrence for James Karinchak. Now, I keep wanting to say Karnachak. I got to get better at that. The Guardians, who just picked #1 overall, want to get Justin Lawrence. Lawrence has just not been working out for us this season, and he's still 29, so he's, with only 2 years of MLB service, definitely could still progress a little bit, but he's not worked out for me, and Karinchak has some really dynamite ratings, except for that walk per 9. That's pretty bad. I think this is another move that could really bolster our bullpen, and we take it. Philip Chang, we're going to try to offer him a contract here, bare minimum, and he's not signing on even at 72% interest. Thankfully, it didn't bump his interest down at all. Robbie Bush is at 80% interest, but we're going to go ahead and try for Philip Chang again here as we bump the bonus up a little bit. I don't want to go any higher than 700, and thankfully Philip Chang signs on, so we'll see what his ratings can be. Oliver Hernandez and Mackenzie Jackson and Bruno Hawkes all still here, as we'll go ahead and offer Hernandez. And I wanted to lowball him here. That overall is just so bad. I think he's going to be a good player if we can develop him fast enough, but he's not signing on for what we offered him. Mackenzie Jackson, another player that I don't think is going to be necessarily great, but could be a potential AAA guy for us. Now the Braves are offering us a trade for Elias Diaz, and it's Tyler Matzek, the reliever. Matzek has some pretty solid ratings, and again, it's this idea that I want to bolster the bullpen, and Diaz has just not hit all that well for us this year. 250, he's gotten better. It's definitely something that's increased in the last bit of time, but the Braves, maybe they see a chance to add him and go forward with it. We'll take that trade. So we are trading away a lot of our team now. At this point, a lot of founding Rockies here in the series have already been moved. Mackenzie Jackson signs on for $476K. And that leaves just Robbie Bush, Oliver Hernandez, and Bruno Hawkes. Now, Bush is someone that if he's on the high end of those ratings, he also could be not far away from a major league debut. All these guys, I think, including Peace, are going to start in the minors, but some of them definitely will be moving up sooner than others. Hernandez is someone I still wanted to bring on because that potential is just so high, and he signs on, so it leaves Hawkes and Robbie Bush. Now, Bush is at 80% interest. That should be pretty much guaranteed that we can bring him on. And again, if that potential's low, the overall can get there pretty quickly, and he could be a reliever in the majors not far from the future. So I think it's one of those things where at round 3, pick 80, you're not too upset with that. Let's go ahead and simulate a few days, though, as we approach the end of this signing draft pick period. Rockies do pick up a win over the Giants here. We'll simulate one more day here, and the Giants take revenge on the Rockies. So today is the final day to sign picks. Jaquez and Bush are our only 2 remaining. Obviously, my biggest interest is in getting Bush here, and we'll go ahead and offer him the baseline of $665K, and he signs on, and that leaves Bruno Jaquez. Now, $1 million, I don't know that this was the right call, because you can already see that potential and that overall have tanked. If he's on the low end, if he's 69 potential and 50 overall, that's going to be terrible. I did ultimately offer him $1.7 million in signing bonus. We'll see if that was a good call here in a minute. Of course, he could get over the injury as well. Now, we are at 39 and 71 on the season at this point, so you can see the future not bright unless these draft picks hit. The Isotopes currently second, and the Yard Goats second as well, only 3 games back from first, so a chance to make the playoffs for them. Dave Peace, actual potential, 89 and 71 overall. This was a hit. At number 3 overall, I think this was a big-time win for us. He has the potential to play in the majors early. That contact is really, really awesome. 59 discipline there. Good plate vision. Jaquez, we'll get to him. How about Wade Ames? 65 overall, with that potential in the high 80s. He's not far. He's going to start AAA pitching with, he's going to start with Peace down at AAA and the Isotopes, and we'll see if his numbers are pretty good. I'm looking at maybe his whip number. If that's really high, he might be moved up pretty soon. Of course, one thing I like about Peace is he also has good speed, so he's going to be a good base runner for us, not just getting hits, but also running around the bases. How about Oliver Hernandez? We hit on that potential. A potential, but the overall is only 46. He has no offense, and he has no defense. He is quite literally the rawest athlete I've ever seen. But 93 potential. There's a world where we can work with him. Do we start him at AA, though, or single A? Jackson even has 88 potential. Now his overall starts at 64, but hey, that's good enough where he could start soon as well. And now we have 2 pitcher prospects that I wasn't expecting to get this late in the draft. Ames our 3rd pick, and Jackson our 2nd to last pick. Now Bruno Jaquez was the big reach of the draft. He has 77 potential, and he's a 58 overall. So that's not horrible. His H per 9, his K per 9 they're really good actually. His walks per 9, 47, that's not bad. He actually is not the worst pitcher I've seen, but the problem is he going to be worth the investment? I'm not sure. And then Robbie Bush. I think this is someone who projects as a very fast riser. If we can get him to his potential as quickly as possible, he could just be a solid rotational player for us in the bullpen in a year or 2. Overall, though, Dave Peace is who I'm most excited about. The number 3 overall pick, and we are in line to get the number 1 overall pick next season. Of course, there's the draft lottery, so we'll see how that goes. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Finale coming to you on Friday, and then the live stream of the spring on Saturday. I'll see you then.